talks about the Bearcat and its rate of climb in World War II. Well, the Tridecker was effectively the Bearcat of its day. I just demonstrated that's exactly what it did. So the Tridecker is powered by a rotary engine, so yet another different type of engine. If you know anything about science, you might remember gyroscopes from your school physics class. And a gyroscope is rigid in space until you try and push it somewhere. If you push it somewhere, that push is rotated through 90 degrees in the direction of rotation. If you on your tail, they're not expecting the aircraft to go sideways, as Michael demonstrated. This is a completely different age of air combat. Even by World War II, most air speeds in combat were above 200 knots, 250 knots. These aircraft were considered fast if they were doing 130 knots. They can turn very tightly, but that means that air combat was in a very, very small space. I think the combat pilots these days call it a knife fight in a phone box.
Absolutely, using in each of these probably two 7.92mm Spandau machine guns.
The aircraft, the shooting down aircraft would sometimes fly alongside, wave, and it was all very chivalrous at the start of the war. But by the end of it, of course, it was just dog eat dog. Interestingly, German pilots had parachutes. British pilots did not. It was considered to be a bit of poor form to have a means of escape.
Empty weight about 680 kilos with a 200 up to 200 horsepower engine. So compare that to the Gamebird, 635 kilos with a 315 horsepower engine. Just seems to show, or goes to show how much development there's been in the aircraft performance. But you can see now the way these are tightly turning, the entire display being kept right in front of us.
Richthofen was the highest scoring German ace. I think he scored 82 kills and was actually shot down in the Tridecker. Interesting.
So these actually were driven from Sweden. Michael drove them from Sweden with his chief ground crew and also wife Gunilla. So well done to them for driving all the way with a trailer with these two aircraft inside to show us here at Sywell today.
I think Mikkel actually arrived on Tuesday, but he didn't bother putting them together until Friday. He's so used to putting them together, it takes about half a day. He had about 5,000 hours of tow wheel time flying crop dusters before he even started his commercial aviation career. He flew with Britannia Airways for a long time, 757, 767s before retirement. He's now just a professional layabout flying any warbird that someone will push towards him. He's a pre-World War I bag of string and dope, which his father apparently flew a long time ago, so that's his second favourite aircraft. Hell of a contrast. Pilots who flew these aircraft were just in drafty cockpits wearing as much clothing as they could get on. They didn't have oxygen, yet most of the combat took place above 10,000 feet. So they were frozen, they were scared, they were being shot at, and in fact the rotary engine, which the Tridecker has a total loss lubrication system which uses castor oil, and that castor oil was thrown back by the engine into the pilot, and the pilot is actually ingesting that castor oil, which doesn't do your internals any good. So now you have to worry about being high altitude with no oxygen and being cold. I shall leave the rest to your imagination.